when you're making fantasy start or sit decisions, you've got to go with your gut. So again, if you disagree, start the guy you want to. But these guys have tough matchups. We want to present guys that we've researched and they have tough matchups just to at least make you aware of them, starting with Josh Downs. I mean, Downs continues to show why he deserves to be on the fantasy radar in week 6. And let me just say, as somebody who personally was very high on Josh Downs all of last year and even into the draft and even after the draft, after he slid, I'm a very happy camper. I camp extremely happily at the moment.
Happy.
Hit in against Jacksonville. That was good. 5 receptions, 8 targets, 21 yards, and a touchdown.
Only 21 yards.
Only 21 yards. It's the PPR leagues that you're getting this, but there's a problem in week 7 and this week coming up, and it's the Cleveland defense. And we saw this last week where we started nobody on the 49ers, where Brock Purdy had 7 points, where George Kittle, where Cleveland has allowed the least amount of points to tight ends all season. George Kittle had 0.1 points or something like that. Brandon Ayuk had 2 big plays that propped his production up, had 11 points. Cleveland is number 1 in the least amount of wide receiver receptions given up to teams. They're number 1 in the least amount of wide receiver yards given up to teams. They are tied for number 1 in the least wide receiver touchdowns given up to teams. I don't know about you, but those are 3 pretty good stats that indicate that receivers might not play well against them.
Pretty good.
Something tells me that. So keep stashing Josh Downs because, again, Gardner Minshew, here to stay. Gardner Minshew helps Josh Downs. So we're comfortable starting Josh Downs for a lot of the season. This week, though, and for weeks to come against the Cleveland defense, no. Nope, we're not. We're sitting him this week.
Yeah, another guy that we're going to sit this week is Courtland Sutton, who scored the only touchdown for Denver in week 6 in what was one of the most disgusting games of week 6, and it just happened to be on Thursday night. Thank you, Amazon. 4 receptions, 6 targets, 46 yards, and 1 touchdown. If you saw the touchdown, and a lot of people did because it was the only game on Thursday night, it was a real nice catch. I mean, it was awesome. Awesome to watch.
Great catch.
Courtland Sutton, the NFL player, Courtland Sutton, the wide receiver.
Love him.
Well done. Really like you. Really love that catch. I mean, that was nice.
It was money.
So nice. You have got to be highly skeptical of the low target receivers that are banking on touchdowns, and Courtland Sutton is one of those guys.
And Gabe Davis.
That is not a formula that usually works long term, and you're going to have a lot of people in your casual leagues. Don't tell me that no one in your league is looking to buy Courtland Sutton. Okay, there are people in leagues, because there's a lot of casual fantasy leagues out there, who will see that catch and they'll say, man, Courtland Sutton is a good wide receiver.
Not everybody plays in a professional fantasy league like you.
Courtland Sutton is a dog. Yeah, not everyone is as cool as you in your league, okay? So in the
People
leagues,
play in home leagues, guys.
In the leagues that like Courtland Sutton, in the leagues that saw that catch and said, this man's a dog, he's going to put up so many points with Russell Wilson. Their Week 7 opponent against the Packers are also easier to run against than anything else. They don't allow the big play. They don't want to allow the receivers with the big play ability to get a lot of receptions. Javonte Williams is going to get his own there. P. Ryan's going to get his own. Jaleel McLaughlin is going to get his own. They have given up the 8th fewest points to wide receivers this year among the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs, right next to those guys. We would rather play it safe this week and not hope for a touchdown with Courtland Sutton. I mean, I would argue if you can sell Courtland Sutton for anything, please do it. But we're definitely not starting him this week.
For as much crap as we catch for these videos, our cover boy last week was Rachaad White. And Rachaad White, how many points did he have last week, Nathan? He had 6.5 points. He was the running back 33 on the week. Give me some knucks. Yeah. Get out of here.
Yeah.
This week we're going to have him as a must start, or a do not start as well. Because as good as the Detroit defense has been, in not giving up fantasy points to running backs, Atlanta has been better.
Like the best.
I mean, and White has played 3 of the toughest run defenses in the NFL in the last 3 games. And you see, running back 33, running back 21, running back 33. It's not gone well for him. It's not gone well for him. Unfortunately, this week doesn't get easier. The Falcons have been the 3rd hardest team for running backs to score fantasy points again this year. Number 1, 2, and 4 are the Lions, Saints, and Eagles, which means that Rachaad White has played the 4 toughest fantasy running defenses in the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
But if we've learned anything from the last 3 weeks, I think we've learned that Rachaad White, when he's playing a top 4 rushing defense, is not startable. I mean, even if you disagree with us on this, which I don't see why you would, because this is probably the best argument we've ever had for a must sit. You have to at least look at his game log against these defenses and be like, yeah, something's off here.
Yeah.
Even if we're starting him in week 8, week 9, we're not starting him this week. We are not. And we're very comfortable saying that given his performance against top 4 rushing defenses in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, another guy that's been awesome this season, and we're super optimistic about him for the rest of the year because honestly, I think overall he has been a very underrated quarterback who plays at a very high, honestly, top 12 NFL quarterback level of recent. That's Jared Goff. He has been excellent this season despite his weapons around him changing every single week. And you're looking at his attempts over the last 6 weeks, 35, 35, 33, 28, 28, 44. That is what you want to see from a quarterback with 0 rushing upside. He's playing the Ravens this week. Dang it. That sucks, man. They've been number 1 against quarterbacks so far in fantasy football, right in front of the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills. That is good company to be with as a defense when you're matched up against quarterbacks. While the Ravens ranking is likely inflated by the QBs they've played, that is fair. You've got to look at the matchups against Deshaun starting very slow, against the
Kenny Pickett
and Joe Burrow with no calf. Gardner Minshew, that is fair. That is absolutely fair. This is probably the toughest matchup the Ravens are going to have so far. But regardless, it's still tough to play against this Ravens defense. It just is. They always play well in these tough matchups. They always do. And with the game in Baltimore, it's likely going to be a rough and tumble game. With bad weather, probably. I mean, we're in the middle of October now. It's getting rainy. It's getting windy. It's getting cloudy. Jared Goff tends to struggle in games outside. That is true. That is a valid fact.
There's pumpkins everywhere.
There's pumpkins all over the place. We're not that far away from the Thanksgiving games. We're like a month away from those.
Where I eat so much that I almost explode.
Yes, I can't wait for that. But until then, only start Goff if you need to, as there is risk there for week 7.
Let's stay on the quarterback position here, and let's go Kirk Cousins as somebody we're not comfortable starting this week. Cousins is another QB that had a hot start to the season, which I would say is pretty expected of somebody who's playing with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But the first week without Justin Jefferson was not good because he's playing the Chicago Bears. And anybody who's familiar with football or America knows that the Chicago Bears are not good.
Unless you're a Chicago Bears fan.
Unless you're a Chicago Bears fan.
Sorry.
21 completions on 31 attempts. He had 181 yards, a whole 181 of them. 67% completion percentage. He had 1 touchdown. He had 5.8 yards per pass attempt. That's not, yards per completion. That's not good.
Yeah.
So now they get a Monday night game. Right, yeah. Against the 49ers. The 49ers, as everybody expects, have been a hard defense for quarterbacks to play against this year. They've allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this year behind the teams we just talked about, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bills.
They're going to be angry too, man. Coming off a game where they just lost to Cleveland and a backup quarterback, dude. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, P.J. Walker just beat them, so I'd imagine they're going to be pissed. But again, even matchup aside, look at what he did without Justin Jefferson. I'm really concerned about this offense. I am. As much as I like T.J. Hawkinson and Jordan Addison, I think Justin Jefferson is kind of the X factor there. I know he is.
Right, it's Justin Jefferson.
It's Justin Jefferson.
And we're not going to quite overreact yet about every single fantasy asset in Minnesota for the rest of the year or as long as Justin Jefferson is out. We're not in the business of overreacting that much. We're just saying that we are very concerned for the foreseeable future, for the next couple of weeks, and we have to see more, but this is not the week where you want to see more of these guys in your starting lineup, especially Kirk Cousins, because of the matchup, guys. It's the San Francisco 49ers defense.
I'm comfortable enough going on record saying that I'm concerned as long as Justin Jefferson's out. I'm
absolutely
a lot less comfortable starting these guys as I was.
I completely agree.
Okay, so then I don't think that's an overreaction.
I'm concerned, but I'm not saying that these guys are going to suck for the rest of the year or suck
they
until
won't.
Justin Jefferson is back.
I think what you had before was 4 guys who were capable of producing in one game.
Correct.
And now I don't think it's possible. I think it's maybe Hawk and Addison or Osborne and Hawk. I think you're going to get some more hit and miss with some of those weapons now.
Probably more hit or miss. Jefferson. I do think it's possible that these guys can still produce. There is a possibility of them having a good game while Justin Jefferson is gone. They They will. They will. But again, this is not the week to test that theory. This is not the week to do
Not
that.
for Kirk Cousins or the receivers, at least.
No.
Did I just do Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, if you were even considering starting them before this, no. These two wouldn't even be in the starting conversation in a normal week. But guess what? We're not in a normal week. We've got injuries galore, and we have 6 teams on bye in week 7. You're going to be looking for options. You're going to be desperate. You may be forced to start Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. If at all possible for you guys, please do not start them. Please do not. The Rams are a hard matchup. They have allowed the 8th fewest points to opposing fantasy running backs so far. You pair that defensive matchup and you pair that with Najee Harris. That's not a good combination. That's a bad running back against a good defense. That makes an even worse running back. And that's putting it nicely. Warren would be the one most teams would be tempted to start because he's been better. He's been more efficient than Najee Harris. But the Rams have been particularly good against defending passing running backs as well. And that's really where Warren scores a lot of his points. That's where the money's at with him. Tied for 5th lowest receptions allowed to running backs, 4th fewest yards allowed to running backs, and haven't allowed a touchdown yet to a running back as a receiver. Only start one of these guys if you need the 5 to 10 points, but that's all you're getting. 5 to 10 points.
Hunter Henry had a good start to the season, and now he's basically dead again, as is pretty much all of the Patriots' offense. So it's not just Hunter Henry, but he's collapsed pretty fast here. I mean, he had games to start of 16 and 17, then he the last 4 weeks, 3, 9, 0, and 1.
Remember when we got crapped on for saying Hunter Henry's production wasn't sustainable at the beginning of the season?
Oh, I remember. Unfortunately for Henry, things don't really get easier this week either. The Bills, even after their injury, have still plenty of talent on defense. They've allowed the 4th fewest points to tight end this year. So the Bills haven't given up a touchdown to tight end this year either, which is Henry's main strength. I mean, both of the games where he scored at a high rate, he had touchdowns. That is not coincidental here. Sit Henry or release him entirely. He's not even a tight end 1 anymore. That's bad. If you're not even a tight end 1 right now, you're not even rosterable, in my opinion. So make sure you drop a like on the video because you're not losers. And make sure you also subscribe to the channel. We've got fantasy football content coming out a lot. So if you play fantasy football, probably a good thing to subscribe. And make sure, like I said, like the video. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you later.